Hello my lovelies! Today I have a massive book haul to show you, so stay tuned. So I have accumulated 48 books since my last book haul. Yeah, it's a lot. These come from multiple different places. We have a couple of stores around here that I've gotten some of these from. Some have been ordered online. Some are special edition books that I've gotten from like book boxes. And then of course there are books that came in regular subscription boxes. It's a lot. So let me move you a little bit closer and we will get into all of these lovely books. Okay, I got you a little bit closer so I can show the book covers off to you. Okay, so these first two books I have here, these came from a new store that we have here now called Second and Charles. They have new and used books here and you can trade in and things like that. And so I got a couple of books while I was there. Xander actually pointed out this first one to me and I read it and I was like, good job Xander, because I never heard of this book. And it's called Finding Alice by Melody Carlson. And this is an Alice in Wonderland kind of retelling. He knows me well. This says, sliding into the rabbit hole, would she ever return? On the surface, Alice Laxton seems no different from any other college girl. Bright, inquisitive, excited about the life ahead of her. But for years, a genetic time bomb has been ticking away. Because of Alice's near genius intelligence, teachers and counselors have always made excuses for her little idiosyncrasies. There we go. But during a stress-filled senior year at college, a new world of voices, visions, and unexplainable knowledge reveals that Alice has begun to lose her grip on reality. As Alice's schizophrenia progresses, she experiences a disturbing religious awakening, believing that God and angels and demons are speaking to her. When others attempt to intervene, Alice is subjected to a wide range of treatments, even more frightening and painful than her illness. Powerfully raw and brutally honest, Finding Alice is a story of individual suffering and hope, a family's shared ordeal, and a search for true mental and spiritual healing. Interesting. Alright. Set this over here for right now. And then the next book I found there was The Lovely and the Lost by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've recently, well fairly recently, read The Inheritance Games and absolutely loved it. And so I was like, I want to get more by her. And when I saw this there, Finding Alice was only $4.50. This one was $7.95. So yeah, when I saw this, I wanted to get it. This says, oh, I didn't look under. There's like footprints and paw prints there. This says, Kira Bennett's earliest memories are of living alone and wild in the woods. She has no idea how long she was on her own or what she had to do to survive, but she remembers the moment that Katie Bennett and one of her search and rescue dogs found her. Adopted into the Bennett family, Kira still struggles with human interactions years later, but she excels at the family business, search and rescue. Together with Katie's son, Jude, and their neighbor, Free, Kira works alongside Katie to train the world's most elite search and rescue dogs. Someday, all three teenagers hope to put their skills to use finding the lost and bringing them home. When Katie's estranged father, the enigmatic Bales Bennett, tracks his daughter down and asks for her help in locating a missing child, one of several visitors who has disappeared in the Sierra Glades National Park in the past 12 months, the teens find themselves on the front lines sooner than they ever could have expected. As the search through 750,000 acres of unbridled wilderness intensifies, Kira becomes obsessed with finding the missing child. She knows all too well what it's like to be lost in the wilderness, fighting for survival, alone. But this case isn't simple. There is more afoot than a single missing girl, and Kira's memories threaten to overwhelm her at every turn. As the danger mounts and long-held family secrets come to light, Kira is forced to question everything she thought she knew about her adopted family, her true nature, and her past. and I think this is gonna be really, really good. Okay, these next 4 books are books that I actually got from my mom. She came and she had like 5 or 6 big totes and boxes of books that she wanted to take to McKay's or Second and Charles and trade in. And so I got to pick through them, and I picked 4 of them out. The first one is The Daughter by Jane Shimilt. And this one says, Jenny is a successful doctor, the mother of 3 great teenagers, married to a celebrated neurosurgeon. But when her youngest child, 15-year-old Naomi, doesn't come home from a school play, Jenny's seemingly ideal life begins to crumble. There is a nationwide search with no success. Naomi has vanished and her family is broken. As the months pass, the worst case scenarios, kidnapping, murder, seem less plausible. Yet more than a year later, desperate Jenny is still digging for answers, and what she finds disturbs her. Everyone she trusted, everyone she thought she knew, has been keeping secrets, especially Naomi. Piecing together the traces her daughter left behind, Jenny discovers a very different Naomi from the girl she thought she'd raised. Jenny knows she'll never be able to find Naomi unless she uncovers the whole truth, a twisting, painful journey into the past that will lead to an almost unthinkable revelation. I thought this sounded really, really good, so yeah. Then I just thought this was funny that she had these because, okay, so these books weren't like my mom's books. They were books that these like 80 and 90-year-old women had, and they gave them to her because they were going to get rid of them anyway. And so I got tickled with this one. Grey by E.L. James. This is like in the world of 50 Shades of Grey. Now I have that series. I think I have the whole series, or I've got part of the series. I've never actually read it, and I do want to eventually read it, but I figured she had this, so why not get it? Next we have American Dirt by Jeannie Cummins. And I don't remember who I heard talk about this, but maybe it was Kayla from Books on Lala. I can't recall, but I thought it sounded interesting, and I actually had added it a long time ago onto my Amazon wish list, so when I saw her with this, I wanted to take this one too. This says, Lydia Quiano Perez lives in the Mexican city Acapulco. She runs a bookstore, she has a son, Luca, the love of her life, and a wonderful husband who is a journalist. And while there are cracks beginning to show in Acapulco because of the drug cartels, her life is, by and large, fairly comfortable. Even though she knows they'll never sell, Lydia stocks some of her all-time favorite books in her store. And then one day, a man enters the shop to browse and comes up to the register with a few books he would like to buy. 2 of them her favorites. Javier is erudite. He is charming, and unbeknownst to Lydia, he is the jefe of the newest drug cartel and has gruesomely taken over the city. When Lydia's husband's tell-all profile of Javier is published, none of their lives will ever be the same. Forced to flee, Lydia and 8-year-old Luca soon find themselves miles and worlds away from their comfortable middle-class existence. Instantly transformed into migrants, Lydia and Luca ride La Bestia trains that make their way north toward the United States, which is the only place Javier's reach doesn't extend. As they join the countless people trying to reach El Norte, Lydia soon sees that everyone is running from something, but what exactly are they running to? American Dirt will leave readers utterly changed. It is a literary achievement filled with poignancy, drama, and humanity on every page. It is one of the most important books of our times. Alright. And this last book here is one that I actually had on my Amazon wish list too, so that's why I grabbed it. And that is Open Book by Jessica Simpson. I think this is just her memoir, and pages look like diary pages. This says, preacher's daughter, pop phenomenon, reality TV pioneer, billion-dollar fashion mogul, girlfriend, wife, mother, Jessica Simpson has been all of these things. And whether she's America's sweetheart, a headline, or a punchline, people always relate to her honesty. Now guided by the journal she's kept since she was 15, Open Book is Jessica Simpson at her most honest, revealing her inner monologue and intimate struggles. Full of her unique humor and down-to-earth humanity, Open Book is as inspiring as it is entertaining. This was supposed to be a very different book. Several years ago, Jessica Simpson was approached to write a motivational guide to living your best life. She walked away from the offer and nobody understood why. The truth is that she didn't want to lie. Jessica couldn't be authentic with her readers if she wasn't honest with herself first. In Open Book, Jessica tells her truth, revealing a history of trauma, struggles with anxiety, addiction, and self-confidence. She invites readers on a remarkable journey, examining a life that blessed her with the compassion to help others, but also burdened her with an almost crippling need to please. First celebrated for her voice, she became one of the most talked about women in the world, whether for music and fashion, her relationship struggles, or as a walking blonde joke. But now, instead of being talked about, Jessica is doing the talking. Full of heart, soul, and humor, Open Book shows the real woman behind the pop culture cliches and the wisdom and encouragement she's found along the way. Open Book is an opportunity to laugh and cry with a close friend, one that will inspire you to live your best, most authentic life now that she is finally living hers. I think this sounds so good, and I really like Jessica Simpson, so I'm excited to read this. Okay, next up, this, I think the entire rest of this stack all came from a store here we have called Ollies. It's sort of like an army surplus or like an overstock kind of store, and so everything's like really cheap there too, including the books. And the day I went, I had like a 15% off of everything I bought coupon. So yeah, I bought all the books that I was interested in there. So the first book I have here is This Is Where It Ends by Marieke Nijkamp. And let's see. This says, 10 a.m., the principal of Opportunity High School finishes her speech, welcoming the entire student body to a new semester and encouraging them to excel and achieve. 10:02 a.m., the students get up to leave the auditorium for their next class. 10:03 a.m., the auditorium doors won't open. 10:05 a.m., someone starts shooting. Told from 4 different perspectives over the span of 54 harrowing minutes, terror reigns as one student's calculated revenge turns into the ultimate game of survival. Okay, next up is Voices by David Elliott, The Final Hours of Joan of Arc. I actually was supposed to read this in November. It was an arc that I had for a long time, and I just happened to see this finished copy at Ollie's, and so it was only $1.99 and I had to get it. So I'm happy to have a finished copy of this, and hopefully I'll be able to read it soon. It is told in like poems. This says, who was Joan of Arc? Warrior, witch, sinner, saint. Before she was any of these, before she heard the first angel speak, before she died, Joan was just a girl. Then we have The Burning by Laura Bates. This says, new school, check. New town, check. New last name, check. Social media profiles, deleted. Anna and her mother have moved hundreds of miles to put Anna's past harassment behind them. She hopes to make a fresh start somewhere no one knows her. But then rumors and whispers start, and Anna tries to ignore what is happening by immersing herself in a history project about Maggie, a local woman accused of witchcraft in the 17th century. As Anna identifies with Maggie and develops newfound friendships, she finds a voice to face her tormentors. From Laura Bates, international renowned feminist and founder of the Everyday Sexism Project, comes a debut novel that is a harrowing look at misogyny through the centuries. It's a powerful call to action, reminding all readers of the implications of sexism and the role we can each play in ending it. Alright, next up we have The Girl from Widow Hills by Megan Miranda. This one says, everyone knows the story of the girl from Widow Hills. Arden Maynor was just 6 years old when she was swept away while sleepwalking during a terrifying rainstorm. Strangers and friends, neighbors and rescue workers set up search parties and held vigils, praying for her safe return. Against all odds, she was found, alive, clinging to a storm drain. The girl from Widow Hills was a living miracle. Arden's mother wrote a book. Fame followed, fans and fan letters, creeps and stalkers, and every year the anniversary. As soon as she was old enough, Arden changed her name and disappeared from the public eye. Now a young woman living hundreds of miles away, Arden has built a life as Olivia Meyer. But with the 20th anniversary of the rescue approaching, the media inevitably renews its interest. Soon, Olivia feels like she's being watched. She begins sleepwalking again. Late one night, she jolts awake in her yard, only to find at her feet the corpse of a man she knows from her previous life as Arden Manor. The girl from Widow Hills is about to become the center of the story once again. In this propulsive and hair-raising thriller, New York Times bestselling author Megan Miranda delivers her best novel yet, The Girl from Widow Hills. Okay, the next book that I have here is Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. And this is, I think, the 4th book in the wedding, the wedding date series. And I've pulled the wedding date up on Goodreads. I do own the first book, and I have books 2 and 3 coming. But I was able to get this at Ollies for $3.99, so I picked it up. Instead of pulling the wedding date off my shelves, I just pulled it up on Goodreads here. This says, a groomsman and his last-minute guest are about to discover if a fake date can go the distance in a fun and flirty debut novel. Agreeing to go to a wedding with a guy she gets stuck with in an elevator is something Alexa Monroe wouldn't normally do. But there's something about Drew Nichols that's too hard to resist. On the eve of his ex's wedding festivities, Drew is minus a +1 until a power outage strands him with the perfect candidate for a fake girlfriend. After Alexa and Drew have more fun than they ever thought possible, Drew has to fly back to Los Angeles and his job as a pediatric surgeon, and Alexa heads home to Berkeley, where she's the mayor's chief of staff. Too bad they can't stop thinking about the other. They're just two high-powered professionals on a collision course toward the long-distance dating disaster of the century, or closing the gap between what they think they need and what they truly want. And I think it sounds so cute, so I picked this up. Okay, so the next book that I have here is Umberland by Wendy Spinelli. And this is actually the 2nd book in a series, but I very much want to read this entire series. So this one in particular is like an Alice in Wonderland kind of retelling. And the first one is a Peter Pan retelling. I'm not sure if the stories intertwine, if they can be read separately or not, but I would want to read the first one anyway, which is called Everland. This says, the only way to grow up is to survive. London has been destroyed in a blitz of bombs and disease. The only ones who have survived the destruction and the outbreak of a deadly virus are children. Among them, 16-year-old Gwen Darling and her younger siblings, Jonah and Mikey. They spend their nights scavenging and their days avoiding the deadly marauders. The German army, led by the cutthroat Captain Hans Otto Oswald Kretschheimer. Unsure if the virus has spread past England's borders, but desperate to leave, Captain Hook is on the hunt for a cure, which he thinks can be found in one of the surviving children. He and his marauders stalk the streets, snatching children for experimentation. None ever return, until one day they grab Joanna. Gwen will stop at nothing to get her sister back, but as she sets out, she crosses paths with a daredevil named Pete. Pete offers the assistance of his gang of lost boys and the fierce sharpshooter Bella, who have been living in a city hidden underground. But in a place where help has a steep price and every promise is bound by blood, it might cost Gwen more than she bargained for. And are Gwen, Pete, and the lost boys and Bella enough to outsmart the ruthless Captain Hook? And I love the sound of that so much. Yes, so just looking at this flap here, it says Gwen, Pete, and others, and so I'm not going to read that. So the stories do intertwine, but I'm super excited for this one too. And it sounds like Einstein has something he's not supposed to, so I'm going to go check on that, and I'm probably going to change out my battery while I'm at it, so I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. The next book I have here is I Have No Secrets by Penny Jolson. And this one says, Gemma knows who the murderer is. She knows because he told her. He thought his secret was safe because Gemma can't speak or move. But Gemma observes all kinds of things about everyone around her. That was Einstein's butt bumping the tripod. His secret is just one of them. And when a new technology means she may be able to communicate and reveal all she knows, Gemma no longer feels powerless in the face of this deadly secret. It's a race against time before the killer acts again or tries to stop her. Okay, let me fix the tripod and move the Einstein because he's still right here. Hold on. Okay, next up we have Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. This says, saving the world once made them heroes. Saving it again might destroy them. 15 years ago, 5 ordinary teenagers were singled out by a prophecy to take down an impossibly powerful entity wreaking havoc across North America. He was known as the Dark One, and his weapon of choice, catastrophic events known as drains, leveled cities and claimed thousands of lives. Chosen Ones, as the teens were known, gave everything they had to defeat him. After the Dark One fell, the world went back to normal, for everyone but them. After all, what do you do when you're the most famous people on Earth? Your only education was in magical destruction, and your purpose in life is now fulfilled. Of the 5, Sloane has had the hardest time adjusting. Everyone else blames the PTSD and her huge attitude problem, but really, she's hiding secrets from them. Secrets that keep her tied to the past and alienate her from the only 4 people in the world who understand her. On the 10th anniversary of the Dark One's defeat, something unthinkable happens. One of the Chosen Ones dies. When the others gather for the funeral, they discover the Dark One's ultimate goal was much bigger than they, the government, or even prophecy could have foretold. Bigger than the world itself. And this time, fighting back might take more than Sloane has to give. Okay, next up are 2 graphic novels. They're both fables, graphic novels, and I'm working on accumulating these because I really enjoyed the first one. I need to be reading the second one soon. One of the ones I picked up is actually the 3rd book, which is Storybook Love. And it looks like this. And then I also got number 7, which is Arabian Nights and Days. And this one was $2.99, this one was $3.99. They're like fairy tale characters in the real world. Also from Ollies, I got a couple of cookbooks. I got Healthy Instant Pot Cookbook. This one was $4.99. And then I also got Fix It and Forget It Instant Pot Diabetes Cookbook. This one was also $4.99. And no, we don't have diabetes. However, Marty's dad does. And also, anything for a diabetic is going to be on the lower calorie kind of scale and healthier. So it's going to be good for anybody, I think. Okay, and then the last thing I got from Ollies is this Ultimate Maze, or Ultimate Mazes Extreme Maze Challenge to complete and color. Dude, I flipped through these. Let me just show you. It's some of these mazes, like, I don't even know if this is gonna pick up. There we go. You see that? How ridiculous that maze is? Or this one. You start at the top of the pyramid and work your way down to the bottom. It's an ultimate maze. And I just thought this would be fun. And this was $2.99. Okay, let me scoot these over. They were kind of hanging on the edge of this little table. Okay, next up we have books that I've gotten from Amazon. So these first 2 books here are actually books that I pre-ordered. The first one is Faith Greater Heights by Julie Murphy. This is the sequel to Faith Taking Flight, which is like a superhero origin story for Faith, who is a plus size superhero that can fly. And it's very cute. Also, I think she's either a lesbian or bi. I can't remember. I think she's bi. But yeah, I really enjoyed the first book, and so I want to read. As soon as I finished the first book, I actually pre-ordered this one. Next up, we have Gilded by Marissa Meyer. I'm so excited for this one. It is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. This says, long ago, cursed by the god of lies, a miller's daughter has developed a talent for spinning stories that are fantastical and spellbinding and entirely untrue, or so everyone believes. When one of Cyrilda's outlandish tales draws the attention of the sinister Earl King and his undead hunters, she finds herself swept away into a grim world where ghouls and phantoms prowl the earth, and hollow-eyed ravens track her every move. The king orders Cyrilda to complete the impossible task of spinning straw into gold, or be killed for telling falsehoods. In her desperation, Cyrilda unwittingly summons a mysterious boy to her aid. He agrees to help her for a price. Soon, Cyrilda realizes that there is more than one secret hidden in the castle walls, including an ancient curse that must be broken if she hopes to end the tyranny of the king and his wild hunt forever. Very excited for this. Okay, then these next 6 books are all books that I ordered from Amazon, though the first 3 were actually through third-party things. They're like, these are used. But we have Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kimmerer, and oh, there's a sticker over what it says. Hold on. So my buddy read group, we're going to be reading this, I think it's a duology, sometime in 2022. I can't remember when, right off the top of my head, but I needed to pick this up for it. And I went ahead and pulled it up on Goodreads since the back has a sticker over it. This says, Juliet Young always writes letters to her mother, a world-traveling photojournalist. Even after her mother's death, she leaves letters at her grave. It's the only way Juliet can cope. Declan Murphy isn't the sort of guy you want to cross. In the midst of his court-ordered community service at the local cemetery, he's trying to escape the demons of his past. When Declan reads a haunting letter left beside a grave, he can't resist writing back. Soon he's opening up to a perfect stranger, and their connection is immediate. But neither Declan nor Juliet knows that they're not actually strangers. When life at school interferes with their secret life of letters, sparks will fly as Juliet and Declan discover truths that might tear them apart. And I love Bridget Kimmerer's writing, so I'm really excited to read this. Okay, next up we have The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tor, and this is about an online call girl kind of thing, but she's like agoraphobic and she doesn't leave her house, but she makes a lot of money with what she does. But there's something else. There's something about because this doesn't really tell me anything on the back here, I pulled it up on Goodreads so I can tell you about it. This says, I haven't touched a human in 3 years. That seems like it would be a difficult task, but it's not. Not anymore, thanks to the internet. I am quite possibly the most popular recluse ever. Not many shut-ins have a 200-member fan club, a bank account in the 7-figure range, and hundreds of men lining up to pay for undivided attention. They get satisfaction, I get a distraction. Their secret desires are nothing compared to why I hide. My lust for blood, my love of death. Taking their money is easy. Keeping all these secrets, one is bound to escape. What if you hid yourself away because all you could think of was killing? And what if one girl's life was depending on you venturing into society? Enter a world of lies, thrills, fears, and all desires in this original thriller from A.R. Tor. And I thought this sounded so interesting. And a long time ago, I bought the sequel to this and just never got around to getting the first book. And I happened to like see it when I was messing with stuff on my shelves, and I was like, I need to get this so I can read it because it sounds so good. Next up, this is a book that I thought I already owned, but apparently I don't. And that is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And this says, Lee Chin Sanders is absolutely certain about one thing. When her mother died by suicide, she turned into a bird. Lee travels to Taiwan to meet her grandparents for the first time. There, she is determined to find her mother, the bird. In her search, she winds up chasing after ghosts, uncovering family secrets, and forging a new relationship with her grandparents. And as she grieves, she must try to reconcile the fact that on the same day she kissed her best friend and crush, her mother was taking her own life. Alternating between reality and magic, past and present, hope and despair, The Astonishing Color of After is a stunning and heartbreaking novel about finding oneself through family history, art, bravery, and love. And she's thick. Sorry if you are hearing Einstein whining. I think a package came to the door and he's going nuts because people. Okay, these next three books are all new, but they all came from Amazon as well, and they're part of a series. So we have book 2, 3, and 4 of the Green Creek series by T.J. Klune. So we have a Raven Song, Heart Song, and Brother Song. I am currently buddy reading these with my friends Clint and Kaylani and some other people, and at this point I've already read Wolf Song, which is the first book, and I'm getting ready to read Raven Song. Let me see. So I don't really know how to explain Wolf Song except gay werewolves. So let me pull it up here so I can tell you what this says. This says, Ox was 12 when his daddy taught him a very valuable lesson. He said that Ox wasn't worth anything and people would never understand him. Then he left. Ox was 16 when he met the boy on the road, the boy who talked and talked and talked. Ox found out later that the boy hadn't spoken in almost 2 years before that day, and that the boy belonged to a family who had moved into the house at the end of the lane. Ox was 17 when he found out the boy's secret, and it painted the world around him in colors of red and orange and violet, of alpha and beta and omega. Ox was 23 when murder came to town and tore a hole in his heart and in his head and heart. The boy chased after the monster with revenge in his blood-red eyes, leaving Ox behind to pick up the pieces. It's been 3 years since that fateful day, and the boy is back, except now he's a man, and Ox can no longer ignore the song that howls between them. And it is so good, and it will rip your heart out, but it is so good. And so I'm really looking forward to continuing this series. Okay, now we have finished with the books that I got from Amazon. These next 3 books were part of a special edition set that you could get from Fairy Loot, and I wasn't expecting this to arrive when it did, and I was so happy when it got it. But this is the Dark Artifices series. So we have Lady Midnight. Here, let me show you one at a time. Lady Midnight. It has these beautiful sprayed edges and stenciled edges. Gorgeous end pages. They're signed. This is what it looks like without. I can tell you about this one. It is set in the Shadowhunter world, and I definitely recommend you having read the other series before this one, but I think I can tell you what this flap says without really spoiling anything. It says, in a kingdom by the sea, in a secret world where half-angel warriors are sworn to fight demons, Parabatai are partners in battle, best friends. Parabatai can be everything to each other, but they can never fall in love. Emma Carstairs is a warrior, a shadow hunter, alongside her Parabatai, Julian Blackthorn. She patrols Los Angeles, where vampires party and fairies, the most powerful of supernatural creatures, teeter on the edge of war with shadow hunters. When the bodies of humans and fairies are found murdered in the same way Emma's parents were when she was a child, an uneasy alliance is formed. They must solve the murders before the murderer targets them. Each clue Emma unravels uncovers more secrets. What has Julian been hiding from her all these years? Why does Shadowhunter law forbid Parabatai to fall in love? Who really killed her parents? And can she bear to know the truth? And so this particular series follows Emma and Julian, and it's so good. The whole Shadowhunter world, they're all so good. I love them. Anyway, so we have Lady Midnight. Then we have Lord of Shadows, and it's got these purple sprayed and stenciled edges. This is what our end pages look like. It's also signed. Oh, and then the book looks like this. And then Queen of Air and Darkness, we have pink sprayed and stenciled edges. Here's what this art looks like. And that's what the book looks like. So pretty. Okay, I'm going to move these books around and move these off of here so I can have a place to set these, and I'll be right back. Okay, continuing on, we have some tiny books here on top. These were sort of like little mini bonus books that came in my Books That Matter subscription box. So the first one we have here is Consumed: The Need for Collective Change, Colonialism, Climate Change, and Consumerism by Aja Barber. And this is a tiny little book. It says on here, in the unlearning first half of the book, Barber exposes you to the endemic injustices in our consumer industries and the uncomfortable history of the textile industry, one which brokered slavery, racism, and today's wealth inequality, and how these oppressive systems have bled into the fashion industry and its lack of diversity and equality. She will also reveal how we spend our money and whose pockets it goes into and whose it doesn't. Clue the people who do the actual work. And we'll tell her story of how she came to learn the truth. In the second unlearning half of the book, she will help you to understand the uncomfortable truth behind why you consume the way you do. She asks you to confront the sense of lack you have, the feeling that you are never quite enough, and the reasons why you feel the aching void with consumption rather than compassion. And she makes you challenge this power disparity and take back ownership of it. The less you buy into the consumer culture, the more power you have. And then this next one is actually more of a magazine type thing. It is the Ayla Magazine, and it's issue 3. It says, empowering, educating, and encouraging women to be their best selves. And it's just like articles and stuff throughout. Self-care, recipes, all that good stuff. Okay, next up we have, this came in one of my Books That Matter boxes. We have How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbu. And this says, set in the fictional African village of Kasawa, this is the story of people living in fear amidst environmental degradation wrought by an American oil company. Pipeline spills have rendered farmlands infertile, children are dying from drinking toxic water, promises of cleanup and financial reparations are made and broken. Left with few choices, the people of Kasawa decide to fight back, but it will come at a steep price, one which generation after generation will have to pay. How Beautiful We Were is a masterful exploration of what happens when the reckless drive for profit, coupled with the ghosts of colonialism, comes up against one of community's determination to hold on to its ancestral land and a young woman's willingness to sacrifice everything for the sake of her people's freedom. And then also in the Books That Matter boxes, I got His Only Wife by Peace Adazo Medi. And this says, in one of the most talked about and hilarious debuts of the year, Afa Tekpol, a bright young seamstress from a small town in Ghana, is convinced by her family to marry a man she has never met. Akeem Ganyo is a wealthy businessman whose family has chosen Afi in the hope that she will distract him from a relationship with another woman they think is inappropriate. The fact that she doesn't know Akeem seems a small price to pay for a marriage that offers her family financial security and provides the key to a lifestyle she has always wanted. But when Afi arrives in Accra, Ghana's gleaming capital, she realizes her fairy tale ending might not be all she had hoped for. His Only Wife is a life-affirming, must-read novel about a young woman's search for independence in a man's world, and the rules she just might have to break along the way. Okay, this next one I think came in one of my unplugged book boxes. We have The Secret Next Door by Rebecca Taylor. And this says, "Is the perfect neighborhood filled with not so perfect people. Allison Tinsdale is giving her son the childhood she never had. A stable family, a loving home, and a great school in a safe neighborhood. When they move into the home of her dreams in one of Denver's most sought-after developments, Allison works hard to fit in and impress the other mothers. Bonnie Sloan is the neighborhood matriarch. With her oldest son headed to Yale and her youngest starting kindergarten, Bonnie is now pursuing her own long-held political aspirations. But it's her middle child, Elijah, and their private family struggles that cast a shadow over her plans. When the open space behind some of the most expensive homes gets slated for development into a golf amusement facility, the neighborhood becomes deeply divided. The personal pressures and community conflicts ratchet with every passing day. But it's when a 13-year-old boy is found dead beside the lake that simmering tensions boil over into panic. Gossip flows, lies are exposed, and accusations are made as cracks run through the community's once solid foundations. The neighborhood's faith in exterior appearances is eclipsed by the secrets every house keeps." Rebecca Taylor, author of Her Perfect Life, returns with this fast-paced, engrossing novel that reminds us that nothing is ever as perfect as it seems. Okay, next up we have Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. And this says, "Alice, a novelist, meets Felix, who works in a warehouse, and asks him if he'd like to travel to Rome with her. In Dublin, her best friend Aline is getting over a breakup and slips back into flirting with Simon, a man she has known since childhood. Alice, Felix, Aline, and Simon are still young, but life is catching up with them. They desire each other, they delude each other, they worry about sex and friendship and the world they live in. Are they standing in the last lighted room before the darkness, bearing witness to something? Will they find a way to believe in a beautiful world?" And I forget which box this came in. Next up we have one, I know that this one came from one of my unplugged book boxes. It is The Violent Season by Sarah Walters. And this says, "Every November, the people of Wolf Ridge are overwhelmed with a hunger for violence. At least that's the town rumor. Last fall, Wyatt Green's mother was brutally murdered, adding another name to a long list of November deaths and convincing Wyatt that this yearning isn't morbid urban legend, but rather a palpable force infecting her neighbors. This November, Wyatt fears the call of violence has spread to her best friend Cash, who also happens to be the boy she can't stop wanting, no matter how much he hurts her. And it doesn't help that she's drawn to the object of Cash's anger, Porter Dawes. When she starts to pull away from Cash and spends more time with Porter, she learns secrets about both that she can't forget. As the month unwinds, truths about her mother's death begin to emerge from the shadows, and Wyatt is faced with a series of hard realities that will make her rethink everything she knows about the town of Wolf Ridge." Okay, next up, I think this one was one of my YA unplugged, and that was Luminous by Mara Rutherford. And this one is so pretty. It looks like this. This says, "Her sister has been taken and the only boy she's ever loved has disappeared. To get them back, she'll have to use the magic she's always feared. Lyora has shone from within ever since a star collided with her house when she was a child. Since that day, she has spent her life indoors, only venturing out on the brightest days when her magic can't be detected. For Discovery, it could mean falling prey to the king's warlock, Darius, who uses mage's magic to grow his own power. But when her worst nightmare comes to pass and Darius discovers her, she's not the one taken. Instead, he demands that her younger sister return to the capital with him to work under his watchful eye. To make matters worse, Everland, Lyora's childhood friend and the only one who knows her secret, goes missing following Darius's visit, leaving Lyora with no one to turn to. And to find Everland and to save her sister, Lyora must embrace the power she has always feared. But the greatest danger she'll face is yet to come, for Darius has plans in motion that will cause the world to fall into chaos, and Lyora and Everland may be the only ones who can stop him." Okay, next up we have The Night We Burned by S.F. Koza. I think this was an unplugged. Anyway, this says, her past was in ashes until it came roaring back once more. Dora is always aware of the line between fact and fiction. As a fact checker at an online magazine, her job depends on it. And as a woman outrunning her secrets, so does her life. But when a colleague decides to pursue a story about a murder in her hometown, one linked to a deadly fire at a cult compound 20 years prior, all of Dora's carefully spun deceptions are suddenly at risk. If she can't stop the story, her life is on the line. As Dora works with her colleague, altering facts to hide her past along the way, she's thrown back into a world she tried desperately to leave behind. One of ritual and belonging, of danger and darkness. A world where two girls promised to help each other through until it all went up in flames. As her lies pile up, so do the murders, until Dora realizes she won't be lucky enough to escape twice. Okay, I think this next one was one of the young adult unplugged book boxes, and they came with reversible dust jackets. This one is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And I liked the Owl Crate dust jacket better, so I kept it this way. This says, I refuse to be nothing. In a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, two children are given two fates. A boy, greatness, a girl, nothingness. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is something found only in stories. When the Zhou family's eighth-born son, Zhou Chongba, was given a fate of greatness, everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. The fate of nothingness received by the family's clever and capable second daughter, on the other hand, is only as expected. When a bandit attack orphans the two children, though, it is Zhou Chongba who succumbs to despair and dies. Desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, Zhu learns she is capable of doing whatever it takes, no matter how callous, to stay hidden from her fate. After her sanctuary is destroyed for supporting the rebellion against Mongol rule, Zhu takes the chance to claim another future altogether, her brother's abandoned greatness. Alright. Okay, I'm going to move these and go to the next stack. Okay, next up we have The Summoning by J.P. Smith. I think this was an adult unplugged book box. This says, when it comes to contacting the dead, it's easy to go a step too far. Every year, as the anniversary of 9/11 inches closer on the calendar, Kit Capriol scans the memorials published in the New York Times. It's a simple thing to look up a name and phone number, to reach out to surviving family members who might still be yearning for connection with their lost loved one, to offer assistance. After her husband went down in the North Tower, Kit scraped by as an actress, barely supporting herself and her daughter. But now Zoe's in the hospital, bills are due, and the acting work has dried up. Becoming a medium is almost too easy for someone used to pretending for a living, and desperate clients aren't hard to come by. Now, though, something has changed. The seances Kit holds in her apartment are starting to feel unsettlingly real, and the intriguing man she met at a local bar could be more complicated than he seems. As the voices of the dead grow louder in her head and the walls of her apartment close in, Kit realizes that despite her daughter's absence, she hasn't been quite as alone as she thought. Okay, next up, this is another one that they did. It's not reversible covers. It's actually, they did their own separate cover, and they got them like one over the top of the other. In this case, I liked Unplugged's cover better. This one is The City Beautiful by Aidan Polydoros. And this is what the Unplugged one looks like. This says, Chicago 1893. For Alter Rosen, this is the land of opportunity, and he dreams of the day he'll have enough money to bring his mother and sisters to America, freeing them from the oppression they faced in his native Romania. But when Alter's best friend, Yaakov, becomes the latest victim in a long line of murdered Jewish boys, his dream begins to slip away. While the rest of the city is busy celebrating the World's Fair, Alter is now living a nightmare. Possessed by Yakov's Dybbuk, he is plunged into a world of corruption and deceit and thrown back into the arms of a dangerous boy from his past, a boy who means more to Alter than anyone knows. Now with only days to spare until the Dybbuk takes over Alter's body completely, the two boys must race to track down the killer before the killer claims them next. And I think this is so pretty. Okay, next up we have Mark of the Wicked by Georgia Bowers. And this is another cover that they did. I think it looks really cool. This says, magic always leaves its mark. All her life, Matilda has been told one thing about her magic. You use only when necessary. But Matilda isn't interested in being a good witch. She wants revenge and popularity and to live her life free of consequences, free of the scars that dark magic leaves on her face as a reminder of her misdeeds. When a spell goes awry and the new boy at school catches her in the act, Matilda thinks her secret might be out. But far from being afraid, Oliver already knows about her magic and he wants to learn more. As Oliver and Matilda grow closer, bizarre things begin to happen. Animals show up with their throats slashed and odd markings carved into their bodies. A young girl dies mysteriously, and everyone blames Matilda, but she isn't responsible, at least not that she can remember. As her magic begins to spin out of control, Matilda must decide for herself what makes a good witch, and discover the truth before anyone else turns up dead. Okay, so these next two books actually came from a giveaway that I won of a subscription box, and it was the Bella book box. So the first one here is Forever Right Now by Emma Scott. And these, I like this matte, and the hardcover is like there is no dust jacket. This is just the book. And this says, Dorothy Montgomery has been to hell and back more than once. After a stint in jail for drug possession, she is finally clean and ready to start over. Yet another failed relationship is just the motivation she needs to move from New York to San Francisco with the hopes of resurrecting her dance career and discovering that she is more than the sum of her rap sheet. As Darling struggles in her new city, the last thing she wants is to become entangled with her handsome but cranky neighbor and his adorable little girl. Sawyer Haas is weeks away from finishing law school, but exhaustion, dwindling finances, and the pressure to provide for himself and his daughter Olivia are wearing him down. A federal clerkship, a job he desperately needs, awaits him after graduation, but only if he passes the bar exam. Sawyer doesn't have the time or patience for the capricious, if beautiful dancer who moves into the apartment above his. But Darlene's easy laugh and cheerful spirit seep into the cracks of his hardened heart and slowly break down the walls he's resurrected to keep from being betrayed ever again. When the parents of Olivia's absentee mother come to fight for custody, Sawyer could lose everything. To have any chance at happiness, he must trust Darlene, the woman who has somehow found her way past his brittle barbs, and Darlene must decide how much of her own bruised heart she's willing to give to Sawyer and Olivia, especially when the ghosts of her troubled past refuse to stay buried. Next up we have Something in the Way by Jessica Hawkins, and this book is made the same way, and it's really pretty. This says, it was a hot summer day when I met him on the construction site next to my parents' house. Under the sweat and dirt, Manning Stutter was as handsome as the sun was bright. He was older, darker, experienced. I wore a smiley face t-shirt and had never been kissed, yet we saw something in each other that would link us in a way that couldn't be broken no matter how hard we tried. I loved Manning before I knew the meaning of the word. I was too young, he said. I would wait. Through all the carefully chosen words, hiding what we knew to be true, through his struggle to keep me innocent, and through infinitely starry nights, I would wait. But I'd learned that life isn't always fair, that no matter how much you achieve, none of it matters if you suffer the heartbreak that comes with falling for someone you can never have. Because even though I saw Manning first, that didn't matter. My older sister saw him next. Next up is Defy the Night by Bridget Kimmerer. I already have this book. I've already hauled it in another video, but this came in one of my Bookish boxes. I also, like the other video is when I had pre-ordered it from Amazon. Though this one did come signed. It also has these end pages. It looks like this. There is art inside the dust jacket. This says, a kingdom divided by corruption, the king desperately holding it together, a girl willing to risk everything to bring it all crashing down. The kingdom of Kandala is on the brink of disaster. Rifts between sectors have only worsened since a sickness began ravaging the land, and the only known cure, an elixir made from the moonflower petal, is severely limited. The king holds on to a tenuous peace with a ruthless hand. Out in the wild, apothecary apprentice Tessa Cade and her best friend Wes are tired of watching people suffer. They risk their lives every night to steal moonflower petals and distribute the elixir to those in need, but it's still not enough. As rumors spread that the cure no longer works and sparks of rebellion begin to flare, a particularly cruel act from the king's justice makes Tessa desperate enough to try the impossible, sneaking into the palace. But what she finds on the inside makes her wonder if it's even possible to fix Kandala without destroying it first. Okay, then we have The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. And this one has these beautiful sprayed edges and pretty end pages. And beautiful naked book. And this reversible dust jacket, but I actually really like it like this with those pink edges. Or without the dust jacket at all, because this is stunning. This says, well-behaved witches seldom make history. In 1911, New York City, 17-year-old Frances Hollowell spends her days as a seamstress, mourning the mysterious death of her brother months prior. Everything changes when she's attacked and a man ends up dead at her feet, her scissors in his neck. Her scissors in his neck, and she can't explain how they got there. Before she can be condemned as a murderess, 2 cape-wearing nurses arrive to inform her that she is deathly ill and is ordered to report to Hexahaven Sanitarium. But Frances finds Hexahaven isn't a sanitarium at all. It's a school for witches. Within Hexahaven's glittering walls, she discovers the sisterhood she craves, but the headmistress warns Frances that magic is dangerous. Frances has no interest in the small, safe magic of her school and is instead enchanted by Finn, a boy with magic who appears in her dreams and tells her he can teach her all she's been craving to learn, lessons that may bring her closer to discovering what truly happened to her brother. But Frances's newfound power attracts the attention of an ancient order's dangerous leader who yearns for magical control of Manhattan and who will stop at nothing to have Frances by his side. Frances must ultimately choose what matters more, justice for her murdered brother and her growing feelings for Finn, or the safety of her city and fellow witches. What price would she pay for power, and what if the truth is more terrible than she ever imagined? And then last, but certainly not least, oh my goodness, we've gotten through all of these. We have these Holo Vows, and this is by Lexi Ryan. This is what the original cover looks like, but I really liked the reversible cover, so I put that on. But also, the book without the dust jacket is so pretty. And let me just read this like this because there's no flap this way. Or there's a flap, but it doesn't have the writing on it. This says, I could revel in the darkness. These are the hours of spies and thieves. They're my hours. Bree would do anything before making a deal with the Fae. Death is preferable to their vicious schemes. But when her sister is taken by the sadistic king of the Unseelie court, there is nothing Bree wouldn't do to get her back, including make a deal with the king himself to steal 3 magical relics from the rival Seelie court. Gaining unfettered access to the Seelie court is easier said than done. Bree's only choice is to pose as a potential bride for Prince Ronan, the Seelie prince who's not quite as wicked as she once thought. Unwilling to let her heart distract her, she accepts help from a band of Unseelie misfits with their own secret agenda. But as Bree spends time with their mysterious leader Finn, she finds herself struggling to resist his seductive charm. Caught between 2 dangerous courts, Bree must decide who to trust with her loyalty and with her heart. And I just really like how they did this cover. I think it's really cute. And the back says, magic is life, life is magic. Okay, those are all 48 books that I acquired this month. Have you read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you.